going to have a panel discussion now. I'm going to welcome our panelists to start making their way up here. But just to tell you guys, as we were planning this night, we really wanted to give you examples and vignettes of how people are moving from what we talked about, this head knowledge, to the heart empathy, to actually action and hands. And so each of these people are doorkeepers, as Danny talked about, and each of them could really be their own message tonight. That's how deep and rooted they are in the work they're doing to love their neighbors. But we're really excited to have each of them share a little bit of their stories with you. So thank you guys for being here. What I'm going to do is just going to ask you guys, I'm going to start with you, H, and I'm just going to have you introduce yourself, tell a little bit about what you're leading, the space you're involved in as it relates to moving out, and then maybe just share a story of transformation. Maybe it's a way that somebody has felt seen and known and loved, a little bit about the video we were talking, but just start us out.
Sure, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Aberich Cabral. I do go by H, if you forget how to pronounce that. I won't judge you. So I'm part of an organization called End Prejudice. It's a nonprofit. I started with a few friends a couple of years ago. And what we do is we craft and host experiences to bring communities that are traditionally distant and divided from each other together and listen to each other's stories. We do that through a variety of crazy and creative ways. You can just visit our site, endprejudice.org, and kind of see some of those. Some are events, some are interviews, book and music discussion clubs. At the center of it all is a 1 to 2 year commitment between a group of friends and even preferably acquaintances that don't really know each other that well, to really go through this journey together of listening. We give them tools and a resource and a curriculum where they can kind of go together and really understand who each other is. I love your question of, a story of someone that felt seen, and for us that always comes down to giving people space to see that we are extremely different from each other. And so at the same time, giving them space to see some kind of commonality, right? We can't build a bridge without measuring how apart we are. And so in the middle of many things we do, one of the things that we found most fruitful is an hour that everyone gets to share their entire life story.
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever had that opportunity in your life to speak for an hour to a group of people you kind of know, but it changes the entire dynamic of a group. No phones, no distractions. We give them we always start it off, and then we say we're going to give you a 5-minute warning at the end, and every single time we hear the same thing. It's like, no, I'm not going to go the full hour. There's no way. I won't. Don't worry. Yeah. Every single time, and then we give them a 5-minute warning because we don't want them to ever feel rushed. And we've seen eyes just go, what? I've talked for 55, and I'm not done. And the reason why it's been so fruitful and helped us see each other, well, at least what we found, is that it builds compassion. Because I don't know if you've found this out recently on social media or any conversation, but opinions doesn't work that way. Opinions don't help you feel seen or known. But compassion does. So that's a start. It obviously doesn't accomplish our full mission of ending prejudice and ending injustice and everything in that one moment, but it is such a beautiful moment where we all pause and kind of give each other a part of our life and say, your entire life story matters, and I want to see why it's so different in mine and where we're in common.
I love that so much, and I think we can argue with political positions or things that we're divided on, but we can never argue with someone's lived experience. That is their lived experience, and so being able to hear it like that in that circle kind of context is beautiful. I love it, and I love that you decided I'm just going to end prejudice, and you just took a next step toward it, and that's really beautiful. So thank you for sharing. Jesse, how about you?
Yeah, so my name's Jessie Forster, and I'm from Traverse City. I actually grew up in Metro Detroit, though, so I feel like I'm coming home today, being here today. But I am the vice chair of the Traverse City Human Rights Commission, and a couple of years ago, I just felt a prompting on my heart from God to kind of look into our community to see where I could step in. And I did what you did. I Googled, and I found the Traverse City Human Rights Commission, and it's been a really incredible opportunity just to see how God is moving within our commission and within our community and building relationships in that way. And the commission's purpose is to promote mutual understanding and compassion within our community members, which we're all very different, like you were saying with your group. So the project that I'm working on primarily right now with the commission is a translation project. Through some of the work that we were doing, it kind of came across that there were certain forms and documents that in our community, for example, with like local government or with nonprofits, that are only available in English. And we have a very large Spanish-speaking population up in Traverse City. So kind of working with local advocates, we started to kind of create a collection of these documents, and then we're gonna get them translated. Because a lot of times it's when people are in very vulnerable situations, like encountering the criminal justice system or actually a victim of a crime or trying to get services, and it's difficult and their rights might be affected if they can't understand the documents that are being handed to them. So it's been a really great opportunity, and it's, again, just God is just moving through this, and I'm really thankful that he put that prompt on my heart to Google. And in terms of transformation, you know, I was thinking about this question. As the commission, we have public meetings, so if you're bored on the second Monday of every month, you can join us on Zoom. But we have public comment, and it's so interesting to see how when somebody comes to public comment, it's probably a vulnerable situation that they're bringing to us, that they're seeing something that's happened in the community or something that's actually affected them. And to just tell us and have us see them and listen, and to just give them that time to for us to ask them questions. It's incredible, the transformative power of that. And it's really the opportunity to be Jesus' hands and feet in that moment, that to see that, you know, God cares about your concerns. And even if we don't have a fix for them, just to see them in that moment has been transformative for me, even just to witness as being on the commission.
I love that. So the through line already with you two is this idea of listening, radical listening with empathy. And I love that. And I love, Jessie, that you are an attorney by trade, but you're a busy mom of 3 kids under 3, am I right? Under 3 and under. Yeah. 3 kids, 3 and under. So, and she's doing this. So anyway, but thank you for sharing. That's beautiful.
That's amazing. 3 kids, 3 and under. I have 4 kids, but they're not that young. And that
Circles under my eyes.
Yes, coffee for you later. So we wanted to show you a vignette of one story from our Move Out teams. This is out of SOAR Detroit. They're a literacy mentoring program. And during the pandemic, they actually had to switch from obviously in-person to virtual. And so we have 2 of our leaders who have been participating in it. And we wanted to have them share a little bit of their story, what they have experienced, and some of the people that have inspired them. So watch this.
We meet so many heroes that we get to work with throughout SOAR, which is amazing. The children themselves, I think, are heroes. Being able to work specifically with Jace and get to know him over these past few months, trying to get them to do things that, you know, he wants to go out and jump on his trampoline on sunny days, but I want him to stay in and be able to read a book with me or have some sort of encouragement to, you know, be able to enjoy our time together. And the people at SOAR are so unbelievable as well when they come, or with the tutoring coordinators and the support that we receive. There's heroes in all of the volunteers as well. There's a lot of people that are executives and stay-at-home moms and grandmas that are, you know, helping out, that are just jumping in to be able to work with these kids. And for that, they are heroes for us as well.
Yeah, I totally agree, Jennifer, that, you know, when we get into these volunteer opportunities, I think, you know, we get into it believing that we're bringing something that's beneficial to whoever we're serving. And then it almost always happens to go the opposite way, that whoever you're serving actually brings more to you. I look at my little guy, Carter, and the amount of joy that he's brought me And just watching how he's grown over the last month has been incredible. I think about the quote that Hillary Clinton said that said, "It takes a village to raise a child." And then I read in a book the exact opposite, which says, "It takes a child to raise a village." And when you think about that, it really puts the focus very differently on not the village impacting the child, but the child impacting the village. And that's what I feel like every time I get on with him is he's impacting me more than I'm impacting him. And so I just love that. I think the people at SOAR know that too, because they've been inviting people to be SOAR mentors, and it's almost always that same testimony that people just get impacted so much. So I admire every one of them. They know that these kids, if they're not reading at second grade level by the end of the year, they will remain behind for the rest of their lives in reading. And so you have a group of people at SOAR that are singularly focused on getting these kids reading at the right grade level. So I just really admire all of them and love being a part of it.
Yeah, I got to gather with that virtual move out team a few weeks ago, and for just 1 hour a week of mentoring, they are having this great impact. So we were excited to have them share. All right, Coleman, you're up next. Same thing, introduce yourself, tell a little bit about what you're doing, and then share a story we'd love to hear.
Sure. So my name's Coleman Yoakum. I'm the executive director of Micah 6 Community. We've been working in our little neighborhood there in Pontiac since 2012. So we've been there for like 9 years. Wow. It's like, I'm starting to feel it. I'm getting old. And so, when I think of stories, I mean, in the book of Acts, everybody's going around the Mediterranean, coming back, hanging out. And I'm just like, what amazing stories is everybody there sharing? Like Philip's like, I teleported. Does anybody else teleported? Paul's like, I got bit by snakes and it didn't matter. There are just so many good stories, and God gives you good stories if you're kind of working in the lane that he has given you. But one of our first stories, and I tell this one a lot because it's funny, and people think like what you do must be really hard, and I'm like, it is, but sometimes it's hilarious. So I'll tell you about Naked Homeless Lady. It was our first snow in the neighborhood, our first year that we were there, and I was backing out of my driveway. I was just kind of running around to do some errands, and there's a woman walking down the street. It is snowing, it's coming down, and she's wearing like booty shorts and some wedge heels and a tank top. And I was like, she is not dressed for this occasion. And so I pulled up, I said, how's it going? Where are you going? What's up? And she introduced herself, and she said, I had been staying at the homeless shelter for a couple of days, but yesterday my boyfriend found $20 on the sidewalk, and we bought some alcohol. And when you have alcohol that you're walking around with, that is your entry into being able to stay somewhere for a night. And so we stayed at a friend of his. When I woke up this morning, my boyfriend was gone. His friend was there and telling me I had to leave. And so I just left, and this is what I'm wearing. And I said, well, I don't have anything going on today. The shelter doesn't open again until 7. Do you just want to hang out with me for today? And she said, sure. And so she hopped in. We went to Meijer immediately. I bought her some warm clothes. We got lunch, hung out, talked. She came back to my house, and we were sitting in my living room. I had a meeting that I had to take online, and she was sort of looking around awkwardly, and I said, what's the matter? And she goes, would it be okay if I took a shower? I said, absolutely. She says, it's been 4 days since I've taken a shower. I said, please, here's the restroom. You've got your clothes, whatever. And so she went up there, and I started my call on Skype. I was talking to a couple of donors who are from different places, and we're having a conversation just kind of about how things are going. And all of a sudden I hear the door open upstairs, and I was like, that's weird. That was a little too fast for a shower. And she comes downstairs butt naked. And I said, hello, what's going on? And she goes, I need a towel. And I said, you sure do. And ran and got her a towel real quick. Meanwhile, my people are on my computer going, Coleman, is everything okay? What's going on? I'm like, nothing, slam it. But she hung out with me for that day. We went to the shelter that night, and they were already full. And so she came back to our place and stayed on our couch for a couple of nights and just hung out with me until there was an opening at the shelter for her to get in the next day. And that is a very, very small, one tiny person that we helped along the way of all the years that we've been doing what we do.
So I'm guessing that when you went to school in Arkansas, there was not a book or a manual teaching you how to do this kind of ministry.
We did not cover this at Bible college.
Yeah. Yes.
That might have been grad school, but we didn't get there.
But I love that what you're doing and your team is doing is you are so deeply rooted in the community and in the neighborhood. And so those relationships that you're building, it's so clear that that's exactly where God wants you to be. And then you're seeing some of the ripple effects of people you're investing in, then investing in others. It's been just beautiful. Our interns got to come and visit and see all the work that you guys are doing. So thanks for sharing that. Great. Andrew.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. My name's Andrew Kim, and I don't have a naked person story, and so you definitely one-up me on that one.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's what I have to look forward to. That's good. But my work and where my focus is predominantly focused on the Asian American community. And really, it's this idea and this vision of what would it look like for us as Asian Americans to bring our full selves to the people and to the places that God has strategically and intentionally placed us. Because my experience is, and for so many Asian Americans across this country, our experience is that oftentimes that we view our identity as an obstacle to be overcome more than a gift from God to be embraced. And so what would it actually look like for us to embrace it, to love that, and to actually see that as a gift, and to these places to actually bring our full selves? Because I truly believe that when that happens, it's not just Asian Americans who win, but our entire world wins, because we're ultimately operating in the way that God has created and intended for us to do. And so that's really the focus of it. And what that looks like practically is that we have a group of Asian American church leaders across the Detroit metro area that come together about once a month. And we come together over Zoom and we explore issues of identity and justice. And so just to give you an example of what we've been doing is that this month we went to the Charles H. Wright Museum and we went and had a powerful experience there. And so that really sets up next month because we're going to be talking about anti-Blackness within the Asian American context. And so we have those types of conversations. But at the same time, I'm also looking at developing material for Asian Americans. What would it actually look like for us to explore our identity? Because what I found is there's really nothing out there in this regard. What would it look like for us to have an Asian American civil rights tour? And there's a lot of things that have happened in California because that's where a lot of the immigrants first came. But at the same time, there are powerful things that have happened in Detroit, and that one of the most consequential events in Asian American history happened right in Highland Park in 1982 with a man named Vincent Chin. And so there's a lot of history here as well. But probably in the past couple of months, one of the things that has really impacted me is I was able to get connected with a guy through a mutual friend out in the Midwest. And he's at a large church, and it's a non-Asian church, and he's probably one of 5 or 6 Asian Americans on staff there. And one of the reasons why he reached out was that he basically said, I am really lonely, and that I feel like I'm on an island and I just do not feel understood. And there are great people around me, but yet there's a part of me that nobody here seems to understand. And so we were able to have some great conversation thus far. And I think one of the most powerful things that we've done is just simply shared our stories about our struggles and just different things that we've experienced in the context that we're in. And one of the things that has been so powerful on my journey and that I was able to convey to him is just to simply give vocabulary and to say, this is what you're feeling, and you know what you're feeling in this meeting and the tension and the struggle that you have, this is why. And let me give you words to express it and ultimately the history behind it. And when we have vocabulary, what happens, what I've experienced, is that there's not only a freedom that comes, but there's also a power that comes as well. And so we've had these conversations, been able to share our stories, pray for each other. I've given him resources to help him to understand, hey, you are not alone in this. And it's really widened his worldview. And something that I've been so proud of is that especially in this past year, and particularly in this past month, if you've seen the news, you understand the huge escalation in anti-Asian violence that has happened in this country, especially with what has happened in Atlanta this past week. And I have seen this guy rise up in his context and to lead his community and to be a voice. and his community, his church community has come alongside of him in such a beautiful, beautiful way. But he has been a strong voice in leading that community in this way. But also, he just emailed me actually even earlier this week, and one of the things that he said to me was that, that thing that we've been praying about, that I would be able to be connected and have an Asian American community alongside of me here. And he said, I was able to get connected, and we're actually going to be meeting next month, just a handful of us. And he was just so incredibly excited. And I feel like it's just a cool way that God has just shown him. And really, it's also encouraged me that you are not alone in this journey.
That's beautiful. One of the things, I've had the honor of being in that group with you, Andrew, and seeing your leadership and lead through that. And it's amazing when you think about what happens when people are seen. The stories like that begin to unfold. And that's just another reminder of that. One of the things that's been happening here at our community is a group called Beat the Bridge. It's been a group that has been meeting online, and two of the leaders, there's been a number of groups that have met, but two of the leaders, Greg Myers and then Chris and Roxanne Perry, we got to get on video and have them share about what are some of the stories they're seeing happening right now on a Zoom call every week, and the transformation that is happening and the ways that their minds and their hearts are being shaped. So watch this video.
So one story from Be the Bridge group that I would like to lift up is of Taisha. I thought her experience with us as a group was just amazing. She's been part of Kensington for a while, but this was her first small group, and she shared her experience as an African-American woman. And I was just so grateful that she had that space where she could share her experience authentically, and just tell us how God was working in her life, especially around racial reconciliation. And a hero that I would just love to lift up is Chris and Roxanne Perry. They are just amazing. I know I would not have been able to do this group alone. I'm so grateful that I was with them, and they provided a space where everyone could feel comfortable to go through this journey of racial reconciliation. I talked about race quite a bit as a young man. My mother talked to me quite a bit about it as a man, because it was a matter of life and death for me. But Chris and Roxanne have leaned into this conversation, and they don't have to. And I'm just so grateful that they have. I'm so grateful that they have listened to what God is telling them to do. And it's just been an amazing experience to lead Be the Bridge with them.
Greg, we just thank you. And, you say we don't have to lean in, but we do have to, because our eyes are open to this now. And a young person that I really want to just highlight from our group was a young girl named Michelle. She'd never been to Kensington. She joined Kensington when it was online, so she's not even sure what campus she'll go to. But she knew when we got back in person, she would want to be connected to people. So she joined our group, and through the process, asked Chris and I to meet with her separately. So we Zoomed, on a Wednesday night or whatever, and just talked about the Bible and what the Bible shows us about slavery, about ethnic diversity and ethnic unity and racial justice, reconciliation. I mean, it's all right there. So we were so blessed that she reached out to us, and she actually even brought her boyfriend along to join us on a Zoom call.
Right. And our hero that we've experienced through this process is really Greg. We've done 2 B2B bridge sessions with Greg, and his patience and he's willing to bring his personal experience and his professional experience to the conversation. He's weathering our ignorant questions and comments, and with just so much grace and mercy. And it's just been an absolute joy to be partnering with Greg in leading the Be the Bridge. We're doing our best to try to bring the kingdom of God to our group, and model unity and love and reconciliation. And Greg is really leading that charge for us. And we're just so thankful for his partnership. It's just been an absolute absolute blessing.
Blessing.
And we know that now we have a friend for life
Mm-hmm.
with Greg and Michelle, his wife.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the end of that, we just sat and cried because it was beautiful. It was the kingdom of God and the relationship between individuals who love each other. It was just absolutely stunning. And so, you know, those are just some of the things that are happening around our community. One of the things I just want to say, or I want to ask our panel here, one last, you get 30 seconds. This is like quick answer. What would you encourage somebody who's listening? They're hearing all these different vignettes and opportunities, and they're hearing how you have responded to this courageous call to step out in faith in whatever God has kind of placed on your heart. What would you encourage of others who are maybe tuning in tonight going, I wonder if God is stirring something in me?
Well, I think the quick answer is if you're just feeling stirred and you don't know where to start, come help one of us. I mean, we've got a lot going on, and we would love to do more. And willing hearts, willing hands are incredible. And so we'd love to have anyone partner with us. The other thing is if there's a dream, a specific dream in your heart, and you're not sure where to start, maybe it's time to start talking about it with some people you trust.
Love that.
It may not be the people that will run the full race with you. That's certainly been my experience. But I'm really grateful for the people that helped shape it in the beginning. So whatever is in your mind, start getting it out and let others change it. You know, I had all these perfect ideas and perfect slides, and it's none of those really happened the way I thought it would. When we got to a point where we said, what do we do next? I have no idea. You know, I gathered our co-founders, which is really just my wife, who's incredible.
It's a good title.
Has done
it's a good title
all
for
of
her,
it.
though.
Yeah. And my good friend, and probably everyone's friend here, came under down.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, let's put this on paper. Who do we invite and what do we do next? When we came down to starting our first art event, Cam again connected us to someone who's incredible, and she's now our art experience director. And we met with her. We went to 20 Front Street, and I said, here's my perfect idea. You know, I want to gather poets and storytellers on the stage. And she said, yeah, that sounds great, but we're not going to do that. I'll help you, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to do poets, and we're going to do actors, and they're going to do monologues and poems back to back, and it's going to be awesome. I said, oh, okay. And it has been, and she has fostered in these art events, such a welcoming, safe place for people to share really difficult art pieces and stories and that people normally wouldn't hear. But if our whole team had just come at it and said, this is what we want to do, and we just need people to do it for us, it wouldn't have been anything as beautiful as we've seen it. So let your team really change the idea around you.
Dream is community. I love it.
Yeah, I love that question because sometimes, for me at least, when I hear about, you know, these awesome organizations, it can feel super intimidating of like, what's that step? Like, how do you get there? And I was thinking about the story where the night before Jesus died, this woman comes and breaks this alabaster jar of perfume and pours it on his feet and washes his feet with it. And he says to the woman, because she faced a ton of rebuke for it, and he says to the woman, she did what she could. And she used the gifts that she had to present to Jesus. And so when I think about that question, that's what I think about. Like, what are the gifts that God has uniquely given you? And work within your sphere of influence. And it can be as easy as asking a question or stating it out loud or just speaking the dream that God has placed on your heart, and take that one step. And then the really cool thing is that God just takes it from there. And you don't have to have B to Z planned out. You can just take that next step.
We have a Bible study at Micah 6. It's mostly homeless folks in addiction, friends of ours from the neighborhood. And we were reading the story of the rich young ruler, and when we read that story, the common youth minister to, old preacher question is, what's the thing that you couldn't give up if Jesus told you to give it up and you couldn't do it? And so we finished reading the story, and we were sitting there, and I sort of looked at the room and said, okay, what do you think about that? And one of our neighbors, Leah, she says, I can't imagine that. And I said, tell me more. And she says, I can't imagine going up to a rich person and telling them that they have to sell everything that they have to go to heaven. And we sat there for a second, and I was really confused, and I realized Leah sees more of herself in the Jesus character in that story. The poor, homeless person sort of wandering around on his way to God, basically. And that blew my mind. And so, if the words of Jesus haven't motivated you, if the stories of other people haven't motivated you, just know that there are people whose lived experience is much closer to that of Jesus. And Jesus said, clothe them, give them something to drink, feed them, visit them, spend time with them, love them. That's what God wants us to do. And so I don't think I have anything special to say to anybody who's thinking about doing something. I don't think I'm more motivating than Jesus. So if you're thinking about whether or not you should serve people, spend some time with Jesus. And I think he'll say, yeah, go do something.
So good.
That's good advice again. That's really good. I'm glad I follow you today. That's really helpful. Thanks. You should have been last. But I would say, just similar along those lines, I feel like if you feel the nudge, take the step. And just take that next step and have the conversation, do the Google search, all of that. Because if you know the destination, I think rarely do you know the destination, rarely do you know 10 steps ahead, but oftentimes God will show you the next step. And when you take that next step, then God will show you the next step and the next step after that. And along the way, it will be one of the greatest adventures of your life, and you will meet some of the most extraordinary people as well. And so often what prevents us from, and prevents me from taking that step, is fear. And I become paralyzed by fear. And on this journey that I've been on, only just even for the past year, I've just kept in mind the words in Acts chapter 5, and it's from Gamaliel, who is a teacher of the religious law, and he basically said that if it's of human origin, nothing's gonna happen. But if it's of God, nothing will be able to stop it. And that nudge and that passion that God has placed in you, and if it truly is of him, and you take that step and the next step, nothing will be able to stop it. And so have the faith and take that step.
Can you give them all a big thank you for their wisdom and insight?
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so in your breakout, in your guides that you got, it's on our website. There's always next steps here at Kensington that we want to walk with you. Some of those vignettes we showed you, the Be the Bridge group is one of the discipleship ones that you can take a next step in, and I know Becky wants to share.
Got some move-out teams. Micah 6 is a move-out team. SOAR Detroit. We've got 53 teams on the network. You guys just go check it out. I have been so proud. I just want to give a shout out to our move-out leaders that are engaged with us this weekend. I have been so proud to watch over this past year in the pandemic how they have truly innovated ways to love our most vulnerable neighbors, and also how they've collaborated together. So a really cool thing just happened with Coleman and Micah 6. Our full throttle auto repair team just fixed a car up and gave it to Coleman so that he can give it to one of his neighbors. So we've seen some really incredible things, and I just want to thank our move-out leaders for what they've done in this past year.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, check out those next steps, Move Out Network. We've got an experience called Live. If you aren't sure what's in your hand and how God might want you to use it, sign up for our Live experience. We have a virtual one happening in April. And now I'm super excited, you guys, to introduce this next song to you. Kaleo Arts has been one of the biggest community outreach we've had at Kensington over the past 15 years. We also do these arts programs in our campuses and at our partner schools. And I love how this team, led by the amazing Renee Mullenix, I love how this team pours into and invests in the lives of young kids. They draw out their potential. They help them see their gifts. They allow them to feel known and loved by God. And it's really incredible to watch what they do. So you're gonna see some Kaleo songwriters tonight. They're made up of Kaleo Arts kids as well as kids from Shiloh, Detroit. They get together to collaborate and create original music together. And in the process of doing that, I think that they will all say that they've built some really rooted community across what some people might see as divides, but what they see is beauty of the kingdom. And so tonight you're gonna hear a new original song written by the Patford sisters and their friend Arthur, and it's called Into Beyond. We hope you enjoy this. And stand up if you need to, dance, whatever.
Yes, please dance.
We encourage dancing tonight. Only see what's in front of me. Face to face, is this destiny? What can I
risking harmonies I miss. But soon as I try to catch my balance, I slip and fall into emptiness. Hold this abundant gift, blindfolded a broken mirror. I don't know what reflection is. Superstitious beyond the mist. I go beyond the limits you could find me with. Hold on, keep the beat on. I go beyond neon skies, northern lights. A whole within just rise. He gifted me an art that I cannot define. Pause for the blessing of sight. And if you're more to this beat up, it'll give you some height. Come on, stand on your feet.
Don't stop me, I'm feeling alive. I've got my new side, new life, and new kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Don't stop me, I'm feeling alive. I've got my new side, new life, and new kind of stuff.
Come on, get on your feet now. Let me see some hands.
Living the beat, yeah, living the beat, yeah, living the beat, yeah. Living the beat, living the beat, living the beat, yeah, living the beat, yeah, living the beat, yeah, living the beat, living the beat, living the beat, yeah, living the beat, yeah, living the beat, yeah, living the beat,
Yeah, we
living the beat,
and we
living the beat, yeah, living the beat, yeah, living the beat, yeah.
Let's keep going with this. Join us with the disco move.
Yeah, living the beat, yeah, living the beat,
Yeah.
yeah, living the beat,
Yeah, we
living the beat,
and we
living the